Arcane Series cEDH tournament presented by Combat Step. My name is Cop, aka Steven, and I am super excited to be here with my co-host MTG Hot Dog, aka Lauren, to commentate and
What is
cast this
going on?
tournament. What's up? How you doing?
Good. Happy to be here. Happy to help get this tournament series going. Super stoked to be a part of it.
Absolutely, me too. I've got my coffee here. I am staring out at a beautiful South Carolina nature. And if you're on the East Coast and you're bearing down with all the weather, I believe the C in cEDH today stands for cozy. That is what the vibe is for me between the snow and the rain. But I'm excited to watch some amazing gameplay today. I'm super excited to see what people have brought to the table. What are you looking forward to, Lauren? What are you excited about?
Yeah, I mean, this is the first tournament I've heard of in 2024. I almost said the wrong year. I I want to see if people are brewing over the holidays. People stuck at home, smelling the Christmas tree, smelling the pine. I want to see if that pine's affecting people's, deck brewing. People stuck, one needing to get creative, get away from family. I'm hoping people bring something spicy. I'm hoping, especially with this being the first tournament, you're brewing over the holidays. You want to try something new. I want to see what people, and I already see it right here. I mean, Blind Carl in seat 3, Jensen Carthelian Druid Exile and a Lurus Companion. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that gets me hyped about cEDH. And it looks like we already started. We have Thrasios Vial Smasher, seat 1, starting with Land Mana Crypt Path. Decent start, followed up by Tivit with an Urza Saga. Okay.
Absolutely. I'm super excited by the Urza Saga already. And it looks like Blind Carl here in seat 3 with that Jensen Lurus. Plays a fetch, cracks it, finds a dual land, goes into a Ragavan turn 1, which is a super, super spicy play right now. I will say this Jensen Lurus list was also a big player at the Playing with Power cEDH tournament that I casted a few months ago. It definitely ended up in the top 4 undefeated. So it's a very powerful list. I'm excited to see what Blind Carl has done with it. Looks like we're going here into Chronos Elite in seat 4 with Crom Tevish. We got a duel. We got a Jeweled Lotus. We have 2 Moxes. That is a lot of mana on turn 1. Are we going to get to a Crom? Are we going to get to a Tevish Zot? I'm not sure.
I think Tevish Zot sets you up better long-term for card draw. Every creature becomes a live draw to be sacked to Tevesh. Crom is the more, yep, there we go, we have the Tevesh. Crom is a little bit more aggressive plan, but having a dedicated draw engine like Tevesh in your command zone that you can, like we just saw, easily ramp out like that, is really a really powerful way to start the game.
Absolutely. It's going to be really hard to kill this Tevesh, and he generates blockers to stop the Ragavan, so both great plays on both sides. Looks like we're moving into turn 2 here at the table, going into Sanguine's turn 2. We got here.
I'm curious what Tivit grabs with the Urza Saga. I think that card's falling a little out of favor in Tivit lists, but it's a really efficient way of getting into Lotus for very quick Tivit deployment.
Interesting. Yeah, that was going to be my question to you, was what is the typical targets there for an Urza Saga and a Tivit list?
Jeweled Lotus or some sort of consistent mana, like a Mana Crypt, a Soul Raven, a Mana Vault. Ways to easily power out your Tivit. Tivit's a mana-hungry commander. I mean, justifiably so. It's one of the top 10 decks in the format. Was the boogeyman of cEDH for a while, but Urza Saga really has fallen out of favor a little bit. I would say it's becoming less and less popular these days in cEDH. I know it's taking eternal formats by storm, but yeah, I'm curious what is going to be fetched off of it, or if they're just on the construct beatdown plan, which again, the life totals really matter. You need something to block the Ragavan eventually, and an Ancient Tomb just completely unlocks that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised here if we definitely see an Urza clone or an Urza token here on turn 2 off the Saga. We got a little camera flip. There we go. Much better. And we go into a 1 rain here, turn 2 from Sanguine. Looks like it is going to resolve. Amazing. Very, very good card draw engine super early. Protection from everything this early, not really going to matter, but still, it's going to get a lot of value over time. And go ahead and tap it to put a counter on it and draw that card. Nice.
Yeah, the One Ring really has opened this format up. It makes everything in your deck better. It makes your top deck tutors better. It makes your combo turns better because you can set things up. The card's just phenomenal. And 4 generic pips is so easy to cast.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when people are doing the polls of like, well, what's the most influential card that came out in 2023? It's like unanimously the One Ring at this point. It's so versatile. It's so powerful. I know I just added it to my Amanatu list because it's blinkable, and I was like, geez, it just does so much. Looks like we got a polluted delta here from Hexproof on turn 2, seat 2, looking to crack and find a land. Let's see if that land does get us to the construct.
Well, it needs to produce 2 mana for the construct. Because you need the 2 mana to put into the Urza Saga and tap the Urza Saga. I think Hexproof is telegraphing a Tivit next turn. You fetch for one of your duels. Next turn you have another duel. Urza Saga cracks. You get a Jewel Lotus. Tap it for colorless. There's your 6 mana.
Nice.
But yeah, unless they're not on that route, but Tivit decks want to generate their advantage with an early Tivit typically, unless you are going for I'm trying to think of the different lines in that deck. Sunless on Necropotence. Ad Nauseum's falling a little out of favor.
There's a Grand of Magistrate turn 2. Very good.
Yeah. That's phenomenal. Yeah. I mean, that hurts Kronos the least, who already has their Tevesh out. But if I'm Kronos, I'm stoked about this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also like if Hexproof can get to the Tivit, it's also going to be able to pressure the Tevesh Shazad over there, as it is a flyer, which might be the only thing that can get through. All right, looks like we got the Ragavan hit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mana Vault. What kind of follow-up do we have? Yeah, Jensen's a spicy one. I like that commander both in competitive and casual. I think it has legs, and it takes a really skilled pilot to navigate sort of a complex deck really efficiently like that.
Yeah, I was very confused when I first saw it. I was like, what does this deck do? And then as I started to watch it play out, I was like, oh, this is crazy. Like the fact that, because to me, Jensen is not a powerful commander, but to put it under the Loris package is like, oh, I understand. I get it. That Hermit Druid is everything. Looks like we got a Worldly Tutor, and I believe we counter the Worldly Tutor.
Chronos Elite deploying I think that's the Arcane State, no, Talisman of Dominance from Doctor Who.
Oh, that's what it is. I was trying to find the art.
And then a counter spell of some sort on the Worldly Tutor. Is that the Lord of the Rings Swan Song? It is.
It is. All right, we're going to go to Sandwind's turn 3 here. Rolling for the Mana Crypt, untap, upkeep, and draw. Plays a land.
Mana for days.
Mana for days, and obviously first things first, tap that ring, see what you can get off the 2 cards.
Yeah, and if they deploy their Thrasios and hit a land drop, which they did, I mean, you have the ability now to just Thrasios Pasios.
Yeah. Did they get the Thrasios turn last turn, or because we're on to the Grand Magistrate? So.
Oh, geez. See, this is why I have a podcast called Punt Pals, which I talk about being terrible at Magic. We talked about the dragon being out there. I always, Stacks is for sickos.
It is still early morning. We are still waking up here over the Combat Step Arcane Series II tournament. That is all right. That's okay. I still have my coffee with me. I displaced my kitten. We love the kitten. Yeah, into the Lotus Petal. Trigger kitten. What is the target?
If you flicker the ring, you have a dedicated draw engine.
Yeah, flicker
If you
the
can
ring,
keep
flicker the.
finding.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Tap the ring, add it
Jeez.
back.
That's potent. If you can keep, I mean, you can churn through your deck this way if your draws are in your favor. You can also find a wheel. A wheel can kind of reset this to keep digging through your deck. You have the mana to cast a wheel. Notably, does not have protection anymore.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Passes the turn there. That is a really scary. It's a really scary untap if it gets back to Zangwin's turn and they still have the kitten and the ring on. So I'm wondering if they're going to do anything about it. Urza Saga trigger on the top of the main phase 1. And let's see what we go get. Let's see if it is that Jeweled Lotus.
My stream's slightly behind. Okay. We have the fetch, floating the colorless mana.
Yeah.
If it's a JLo, I think they're sending it. Looks like there's a crypt, though.
I would love a Jenny from the block here. I really would love a JLo. That's now. I'm only going to call Jewel Lotus that from now on moving forward. So it's canon.
JLo or Jenny from the
JLo. Yeah.
So funny. Jewel Lotus, too long. Too many letters, too many words. JLo, concise, evocative.
Evocative, yes. About to drop the new single for 2024.
Is she?
No.
Oh, I was like, welcome to the combat step. We're first in line for all your JLo related news.
Welcome here for cEDH. No, we're here for pop culture references.
I recently learned about Beyonce and that she has a movie, so this is a big deal for me.
She does. She does have a movie.
Okay, so we did get the JLo. We have one colorless floating, one land drop unlocks this Tivit. And I think I feel pretty safe casting this Tivit. We just saw the Displacer Kitten resolve with a 1 ring. That tells me that my opponents do not have a red elemental blast or a pyroblast, because I think they would have used that on that. It shows me they don't have counter magic. I'm looking at this like the coast is clear to cast my Tivit.
Yeah, absolutely. Considering that we have the 1 untapped land from Blind Coral, which looks to be, I'm assuming that's a City of Brass, it looks like? I'm not sure. There was definitely open mana from both Blind Coral and Chronos Elite to possibly deal with that Displacer Kitten, and it wasn't. So yeah, the Tivit is all in the clear here. Looks like 3 clues, 2 treasure. That is a typical vote breakdown for Tivit. And I'm wondering if that's going to be the turn for Hexproof. No, what else we got here?
2 treasure, 3 clues. I'm feeling great right now if I'm hexproof.
I can't tell what this card is.
Let's see.
Oh, it's a talisman. I see. All right, sure. Yeah.
It is a Talisman of Hierarchy, the black-white talisman. So turning treasures into more permanent mana. I think this is a good long-term play. If I'm in hexproof seat, I'm a little bit more concerned about my artifact count. And I almost would leave those treasures up to activate a clue token. But if he's developing if they're developing their board and getting more permanent mana, I'm scared of what's in hand.
Yeah, that was going to be my question to you. Was to me, as a newer player in the cEDH format, that would telegraph as there's no threat of the time sieve anytime soon, right? Like if you're going to drop the 2 treasure to get the more long-term mana, then the time sieve is probably not on the horizon yet.
No, when I'm looking at this, I'm looking, they just used their, what are we looking at?
That is it looks like that is is it a mystical tutor to go find a culling ritual, which is going to just be back breaking.
Yeah, especially when you know that the counters are pretty clear. That is going to lurch them forward. Really, the only thing that's going to remain is the kitten, the ring, and the
And the
Tevesh and
pivot.
Tivit. So that's
Mm.
1, 4,
Mhm.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 mana. Pretty good.
Mhm.
And
Pretty
you get
good.
rid
Calling
of
Ritual
the.
wins games.
It does. Calling Ritual is a very good card. That's one of the things that makes me want to play green. Um, but no, if I'm looking at the
It's a
Tivit,
cool.
the fact that they're using their treasure for a mana rock instead of putting mana into their clues tells me that their hand is gas. At least that's my read.
Mm. So Blind Carl going straight to combat here, swings at Chronos Elite with the Ragavan and
That's
exiles. I
a
don't know if you saw it.
vampire.
Exiles the Vamp Tutor off of the Ragavan, which is just absolutely dangerous. Here goes the Culling Ritual. Culling Ritual with the Vamp Tutor and exile off the Ragavan means that this could end very quickly. I'm not sure how Jensen Loris would close it out like that, but let's see. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they're gonna lurk forward with just the pure advantage. I mean, of clearing board. Granted, each opponent's left with a threat, but there's a lot you can do with 14 mana.
There's a lot you could do with 14 mana, like win the game. This will be the second time I've seen Culling Ritual in a cEDH environment completely flip the game upside down. Like, I saw it with Lua when I was on Mental Misplay stream the other day, and I also saw it in person with my casual play group. Go from literally nothing to win the game in 2 turns off a Culling Ritual that netted 24 mana. So
Winning the game is really bad in my meta, so I don't do those plays.
does it? Oh, yeah, I see. I see. Well, that's in line with Punt Pals, right? Like, we're not about winning the game.
Ouch, painful. So an
Yay, to
interesting
shade
line
on
that
this
we
Saturday.
we have here, you can put 6 mana to get your Loris in hand and then deploy it. Then you have access to a Ragavan, and you can still Vamp Tutor once that's all said and done.
Oh, interesting. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. Lots of black, very little green here. I do love the visual representation of the mana. This is helpful.
Those were the
2A.
Epic Storm tokens by.
Looks like it is a Wishclaw Talisman. We are activating the Wishclaw Talisman and giving it to... Activating a Wishclaw Talisman right now without a way to blink it tells me that, like, we are about to win the game. Between Wishclaw and the Vamp Tutor, I'm wondering if we are going to get there.
Yeah,
There's the ad nause. Yep. Wishclaw goes over to Hexproof.
makes sense. Last in turn order. Adnos for 38 feels great.
Is that a typical play as somebody who runs Wishclaw in my Amanatu cEDH list? Is passing it to the last person in turn order a generally good idea?
It
What?
depends. I
What?
I don't know. To get unless it depends. In this situation, it's a 1-2 combo for Tivit and Time Sieve to win, and now you have just given Hexproof the ability to find the Time Sieve. But if you are going, yeah, I'm just going to win this game, it ultimately doesn't matter. You generally want to give the Wishclaw to the person with the least amount of resources or the least likelihood / ability to win. Oh, and it does look like the Adnos was hit with a Fierce Guardianship.
Yeah, it looks like a hard cast Fierce Guardianship.
Brutal. But yeah, to give it to Hexproof, who already has part A of the AB combo, that's a little scary.
Yeah, very scary. But the rest of Blind Carl's turn was exactly how you predicted it would play out. Put the Loris in hand, play the Loris to get Ragavan, still sitting on the Vamp Tutor in exile.
No black mana, though, floating.
Yeah, no mana left floating, it looks like.
Serialized Loris, that's nice.
Fancy. All right, Chronos Elite, turn 3 here is going to untap, activate Tevesh Zat, and then pass. I wonder how long Sagan was sitting on that Fierce Guardianship, right? Like, I know you can't counter the Tevesh Zat, and you can't counter the Wishclaw Talisman either. Well, you could counter the Wishclaw Talisman, but, like, the choice there to hit the Adnaz is super interesting.
Yeah, hitting the Adnaz, but not the coin ritual.
Yeah, not the culling ritual either. Exactly. I'm very intrigued by it. But maybe Sanguine was okay with the culling ritual. You know, still have the kitten, still have the One Ring, which is your draw engine. Maybe Sanguine's like totally fine with that.
I think it helped Sanguine because really they only lost mana rocks at the benefit of the Drannith was removed for them. And if they're trying to set up for a breach line or they're needing Thrasios to help further their game plan, you needed that Drannith out of the way.
Hmm. Looks like we have an Ewit. Ewit grabbing back one of the Moxes. Building that mana base back up.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Cast the Mox, blink. Oh, wow. Yeah. Cast the Mox, kitten trigger, kitten target, Ewit. Ewit comes back, gets the Mana Crypt. Cast the Mana Crypt, kitten targeting Ewit. Ewit gets back Lotus Petal. Super. That's why he didn't counter the culling, or that's why they didn't counter the culling rituals, because they could just rebuild so quickly.
Yeah. Makes total sense.
Amazing.
Really well navigated by Sanguine. Sanguine, I felt really, really postured that they didn't have anything in hand, only to counter Adnaz. I mean, that feels pretty good if you're in Sanguine's position.
Yeah, absolutely. Mana base built back up. Do we? Oh, we cracked the Lotus Petal. Okay. Yes. Now are we going into Thrasios?
With the Fierce Guardianship in hand.
Hmm. Oh, was that the last Ewit target? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think you have to go into Thrasios here.
And now you... So it's Placer Kit whenever you cast a spell or non-creature spell? It's not a creature, right?
Non-creature spell, correct? Yeah.
The Thrasios notably will not trigger. I don't know. I think this is a... You have the backup of the Fierce to now deal with the Time Sieve. I'm curious if there was any table talk of them being like, hey, don't give the Wishclaw to Hexproof. But if Hexproof has... There's one known counterspell, and I think we would have seen another one. If Hex... Granted, 2 cards were drawn from One Ring, but... I mean, if Hexproof has Force blue card in hand, there's 3 cards in hand, they have a chance of just Time Save win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You need 1 more mana for that?
Looks like Sanguine going into the Spellseeker.
Spellseeker? What do you grab with Spellseeker?
Yeah, this is one of the lines that's really difficult for me as a new cEDH player, is really sort of navigating these heavy tutor moments, right? Like Kitten Seeker could potentially get you a lot of value and a lot of tutor triggers over time. So it's like, what do you find here in this moment? Do you find an answer? Do you find another way to continue your board state? Like, it's definitely something that I am continuing to learn. So like, what do we think the target here is off the Spellseeker? Is it a counter spell? Is it a piece of removal for the Tivit? Like, what are we thinking?
It's not a holiday,
Depends
right?
on if... It depends on what they have in hand.
Yeah.
I mean, they have ways to generate more mana or ways to untap more. I mean, even a top deck tutor, you can flicker the ring and crack the tutor. Yeah, I mean, without knowing what they have in hand, they very well could have... Like, they could even go for Demonic Consultation if they see shields are down and want to try to win. Looks like they chose a Gitaxian Probe, which will draw a card.
Yeah, it'll draw a card, it'll trigger Kitten, we'll blink either the Spellseeker or the Ewit, or more mana, or draw more cards off the ring. Like, for 2 life, not bad.
It could... I think of how the line would work. So they could tap the Opal, cast Gitaxian Probe, flicker the Opal to have 2 mana, cast a Demonic Consultation, flickering the Opal, leaving 2 mana after that, and then consult Thorkel.
Yeah, not bad.
So maybe the Gitaxian Probe is just to make sure that the coast is clear.
Oh, I see. To look at a player's hand. That's an interesting line. I didn't even think about that. I was seeing it as like it's a pay 2 life, draw a card, non-creature spell to trigger Kitten. But yeah, whose hand do you look at?
I don't know. I can't tell who has cards in hand. Maybe.
Looks like
No.
Hexproof has 3. Crom has, it looks like, the most. It's a pretty decent size pile there. Blind Carl only has 1 card in hand.
I think either. I think you do. I think Kronos. You know,
Well,
Blind Carl doesn't have.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe. Oh, there's the time sieve.
Yeah, we saw the time sieve. We see the pyroblast. We see the, what is that? The force of will.
Everyone's revealing their hands. Why is everyone revealing their hands?
Yeah, I'm very intrigued what's happening at the table to like for each player to be revealing different parts of their hand.
Curious. Maybe explaining that they don't have the win, or showing that Sanguine can run away with the game just to be expeditious with time. I've never seen it.
Nobody has interaction.
Nobody has
Is that what
interaction.
they were revealing?
So yeah, Sanguine's got the Thoracle in hand as well. So yeah, it looks like we could get probe, look at everybody's hand. There's no interaction. Then go into exactly the line that you were talking about, Lauren, of the demonic consultation into the Thoracle. Wow,
Beautiful line. And you had the Noctis Survival as well, Sanguine, to
yeah.
get extra mana. I mean, two life equals 1 mana in that case.
That was fascinating. The resiliency there of the Thracius File Smasher list, like being totally fine with that culling ritual, and then being able to come back not only so swiftly from the culling ritual, but win the turn that you do come back. Very, very spicy.
Yeah, that was an impressive showing from a deck that, honestly, I don't think gets enough respect. I know Greg, Curious Control, really champions that deck. He's kind of the poster child of Curious Control. It's fallen a little bit out of favor. Green kind of gets a bad rap. Mana dorks are tough to play right now in a Bowmaster heavy meta. But, I mean, Sanguine just put on a clinic on how to play Thracius File Smasher, to the point where I'm like, okay, maybe I'm a little too hard on this deck.
Can you, for the new players out there, can you unpack what you mean by Curious Control?
Yes. So Greg is on Twitter at Curious Control. He's kind of the namesake of the deck, but one of the key parts of the deck is putting a Curiosity effect on Vial Smasher. Curiosity is a 1 blue enchantment aura. Whenever the creature deals damage, any sort of damage, you draw a card. And Vial Smasher will trigger whenever you cast the first spell you cast a turn deals damage to a random player. So you will draw cards as you cast spells, and if you are casting a lot of spells and being a control deck during other players' turns, you're going to draw a card every single turn off Vial Smasher while dealing damage, and eventually win the game. In addition to combos and such that we just saw.
Fascinating. That is not, I did not think about that. I always associate Curiosity with Niv Mizzet lines, which you could run Niv in this Thracius File Smasher list, but I asked that because I think that one part of the format that has been very interesting for me to learn is there's sort of these assumed colloquialisms about deck names, deck archetypes, and I always am like, I don't know what that means. Like when I first started playing and I was like, you have to tell me what blue farm means. You can't just say it and assume that I know what you're talking about.
I don't know what blue farm is. I know Timnacrom. I don't know what blue farm is.
Blue farm, I think, it's a lot of locally grown organic vegetables, I believe.
I know wet agriculture.
Yeah, you know those Terra potato chips, the blue potato chips? I'm pretty sure that's where they come from.
Oh, okay. I do know what blue farm is then. All right. Well, solid round 1. That was a turn 4 on the play win.
This is very spicy. And I will say, before we dive into this game, I just want to say, if you're out there in chat hanging out, thank you so much for being here. We very much appreciate you. Thank you for keeping everything active in the chat. And if there are any lurkers out there, thank you for being here as well. Lurkers are the backbone of Twitch. We appreciate you. And thank you all for being here on this Saturday. And also, if you've not followed Combat Stuff, hit that follow button, please. Looks like we're either looks like we might be on turn 3 here. Wherever we at in the turn rotation. But yeah, we do have Italian. We have a Corvald, Fake First King in seat 2, Nagila seat 3, and a Winota seat 4. Winota seems to be having a pretty large board state as we come into this game here. Okay, looks like we're on Bagel Heist's turn. If Corvald is going in for the attack, yes. Corvald trigger off the attack. It looks like Italian. I believe the Italian player is named 1 CMC and power and toughness, indicated by the dice there, with a Sakashima on board naming 2. So we got 1 and 2 named off the Italian, and the Italian clone, with an Oppo agent from the Italian player. Well, oof, that is rough. Crack a treasure, make a black mana, and Corvald is going into as a Mayhem Devil. So we are post-combat, 3 mana into a Mayhem Devil. Pretty interesting play there. It's going to definitely hurt the Italian player a little bit. There seems to be 1 treasure left off that Dockside Extortionist, but we'll go into Shadow Walker's turn. All right, Shadow Walker, top of the turn. Looks like this is going to be, if there's a land play, this is turn 4 for Shadow Walker. Nagila on board. Not really any way to swing in here. You got 2 Italians and an Oppo agent, the Mayhem Devil for Bagel Heist.
Oh,
I guess
my audio went out for a while.
I was like, oh, where did he go? I was like, my path. Here you now, yeah.
Okay, I don't know what happened there. Yeah, I took a brief hiatus. I was like, wow. I was like saying stuff. I was like, dang, Steven just doesn't care.
No, I couldn't hear you at all. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna fill the gap. I'm vamping.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, no, I was saying I'm a little partial to Italian here. You know, I have a collaborative deck list on the database for Italian. Love me some Italian, and the colors are Crutch Crew, who is an awesome podcast y'all should check out. They are big fans of Italian as well. I was also saying in like the 3 minutes of me thinking you hated me. That Winota surprisingly doesn't have a lot of stacked pieces. So everything they have deployed is creatures, but not creatures that are impacting the board state outside of combat. Lauren can draw cards for themselves and opponents. The wild something adventure, the initiative card. I mean, that's just going to help you scroll through initiative, and you have a bunch of goblins. So it's really interesting to see if Winota does hit the board, you are going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 after the Rebel Master trigger. 5 Winota triggers, but no real stack pieces impacting the board right now.
So it looks like Shadow Walker goes into the attack with Nagila, makes some more creature tokens, and then passes to Achaea with the Winota. You're right, there's not really a lot stack pieces happening here. And Winota is not on board yet. This is a deck I've not played against a Winota deck yet. I know of it. I know why the stack pieces are so important here, and I know how it sort of like gets underneath and breaks parity that way. So looks like we have an initiative trigger as well. Top of the turn.
I'm envious of you for not having played against Winota. Winota is kind of the bane of my existence. It likes to stop everything that I like to do in Magic, which is unfair stuff. It forces everyone to play fair, which cEDH is a format that, you know, you can really capitalize on having unfair cards and being successful in an unfair way. And Winota plays Table Police in the sense that a lot of the cards in that deck stop you from doing the fun things.
The thing is, as somebody, like, I do enjoy stacks. Like, I like playing them, and I do like playing against them at times because it's a fun puzzle to solve in my mind. But there is a level, there's like a tolerance level where after a certain point, I'm like, okay, well, now we actually just are not playing the game. Like, now I don't know how to solve this puzzle.
Just put it in a divine intervention. The game ends in a draw.
There you go. See, chat, there you go. You learned it here first. What is the Winota player looking to do here?
I think you just slam Winota unless there's a reason that you can't.
I'm very interested as to why that isn't the case. Like the Najeeba player does have a lot of untapped mana, so there could be a response on the Najeela side. Talion looks like has a Lotus Petal and a Treasure, so you could have interaction from either the Talion player or the Najeela player here. So, and that is an interesting question as somebody who's never played against Winota. Like, when do you play it safe? When do you play it aggro? Because there has to be a moment. It seems very similar to Najeela. Like, I know for Najeela, you want to get Najeela down as fast as possible to start building the token base. But Winota, is there a difference between building a board state, getting the things in place, and then going Winota, or just saying, screw it, I'm going to punch everybody as fast as I can?
Well, Winota doesn't do anything without the creatures in the deck. So you need a weird mix of, you need something like Rabblemaster, which is going to create consistent non-humans to trigger Winota, on top of having Winota herself for those triggers. If you play an early Winota with no way to back it up and no way to generate those triggers, Winota's just going to die in your SOL. But if you want to build up your board state with a bunch of non-creatures, then deploy Winota and be able to swing that same turn you're playing Winota and get all of those triggers. And with Rabblemaster, at the beginning of combat, you make an extra goblin, which looks like that trigger might have been missed. But those are additional. Every like 1/1 goblin is an additional Winota trigger, which just furthers your game plan. And then eventually you just start snowballing, and you're hitting for 30 to 40 damage per combat. And it looks like, though, Talion is doing exactly what Talion wants to do. These life totals are low. Collectively, between Talion's 3 opponents, that is exactly 40 life. Excuse me. 30, 20, 29, 50 life between Talion's opponents. From 120. So, I mean, it's a really impressive place to be with Talion, especially when you have a deck like Winota also in the pod who is swinging in at your opponents. You just want to get the target off your back and not have you be the one that's attacking, or being the one that's attacked.
Yeah, I feel like that is. It looks like the Winota attacks do go into Michael, the Italian player here. I feel like between the Winota and the Corvald here, like, in order to balance out the life totals, you would be going into the Italian player as much as you can. No Winota before that combat step. And we did add the token from the Rabblemaster that was done.
I'm curious if Winota was played earlier and got removed because there are 2 humans between Lauren and the initiative creature. I'm wondering if those triggered off of Rabblemaster's and then the Winota was removed previously.
Interesting. That is a good question. It's hard to see what's in graveyards right now. I can only really see the top few cards. That could be the case, though. Top of the turn rotation, it is the Italian player's turn. 1, 2, 3, 4 lands. This looks like it'll be turn 5.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, people miss land drops.
Yeah, I always have to just, like, guesstimate, you know? Like, for instance, like, if the Boros deck has 4 lands, it's likely turn 4 because there's... what ramp is there?
True.
Because you assume the gemstone's got the counter on it, right? So the gemstone is probably a pre-game action and then 4 lands.
Here's what you're doing as Talion. It's hard to pressure. It's hard to get through these creatures. Suppose you could put a lot of pressure on Najeela. I think Najeela is because you're not going to get through on the Winota. Najeela has the Rhystic Study in play. How much damage can you deal? 5? Get them to 9? I don't know. It's a tough place. This is where it's really tough to play control, which is what Talion seeks to do. Seeks to be a permission-style deck. But at a certain point, you just run out of things to do, and board states get too developed. A board wipe would be like hot right now.
Mm-hmm. Would you be looking for like a full board wipe here, or would you be looking for something that's like one-sided, so the Italian can keep both the OG and the Sakashima clone and the Oppo agent on board?
Maybe something like a what's it? Yeheni's Expertise, I think, is played a lot in this deck.
Oh,
Creatures get -3/-3. It kills your Oppo, though. I don't know. I think the Oppo is doing more. Yeah, it's pretty popular in Italian because you get to clear a lot of stuff with keeping your Italian around. People are cutting that because originally Languish was in the list, but people are cutting Languish for Yeheni's Expertise, and then you also get a free spell out of it. Yeah, I think the Oppo is doing more work than we maybe realize.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially, I don't know, because we kind of jumped in this game halfway through. I don't know how many cards Nagila has drawn, but it has to be an above 0 amount with Ristic Study.
Yeah, when I also look at Corvald, who notoriously is very good at keeping a full 7 here, but what of that full 7 is tutor based?
By Rexian Metamorph.
Rexian Metamorph coming in here. Response on the stack. Chat, if you aren't aware, clones do not have to declare a target. They do not target. So on the stack, it is just a Phyrexian Metamorph. Table Talk can talk about what it could become, but as somebody who plays a Volrath clone list, I'm always reminding players, it's just a clone right now. On the stack, just a clone.
Does it resolve? Yes or no?
Exactly.
Can you... I need to read Sakashima. The Sakashima is a non-legendary copy.
Which Sakashima?
Sakashima the Imposter. It's still legendary, but except its name is still Sakashima the Imposter.
So that's how it skirts the I see.
Okay.
Interesting. Phyrexian Metamorph coming in here is a copy of the Mayhem Devil, which is definitely going to punish the Corvald player the most, potentially, here.
If Mayhem Devil's first 3 triggers are just dedicated to killing the other Mayhem Devil...
Would you like to make an alliance with me? Yes, I would.
Yeah. Just clear the board together.
Uh-huh.
Okay, we're thinking...
Alliance, Mayhem Devil trigger.
When did we have priority?
Yeah, great question. In the upkeep? I believe we're still in the upkeep.
I suppose I have not drawn for turn.
Oppo gets pinged down.
And Mayhem Devil's going to be getting pinged?
Yeah, Mayhem Devil's got -2 on it. Into the Orcish Bowmaster. Orcish Bowmaster on the stack. Big ol' Heist is sacking the treasure. Mayhem Devil triggers.
Yeah. This all tracks so far.
We're getting into the nitty-gritty of the stacks. This always happens whenever I am casting or commentating a cEDH tournament. As soon as a Bowmaster hits, we are starting to get into micro levels of stack interaction.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about cEDH is, I mean, every piece of... everything that gets on the stack is going to be impactful. And, like, having to resolve things one by one is such a treat because it just shows how... like you said, all these micro decisions that we have, but how they can affect the game in a long-term sort of way.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's see. That Dockside goes down. Mayhem Devil goes down on Corvald, Bagel Heist board.
If the Dockside's being pinged, that tells me that there is a reanimate effect somewhere.
Yeah, I would not be putting that Dockside into that graveyard, that's for sure. Unless I had a way to steal it.
Right, and I think Corvald's just about to rip a reanimate of some sort, or an animate tab.
Yeah, that was definitely all in the upkeep, but it looks like before we pass priority, we're sacking. Winota sacks. Winota draws. Nagila draws.
Can we tell, is that floating mana next to the land base on Corvold, or is that treasure of some sort? What is that?
I believe it's floating mana.
Okay, so now it goes away because we've changed phases.
Correct, right. Bagel has drawn the card for the turn, so now we're in main phase 1. We lose that floating mana.
Hopefully they realize they don't have the mana.
Yeah. Otherwise, do something with it in the upkeep.
They already drew, though.
Yeah. That's right.
Is that something Judge can check?
We're spending the 2 mana. Yeah.
Judge?
The casters would like to call Judge.
Let's see.
What's up?
Hey, whatever pod we're watching, we need to pause the game. There was mana floating in the upkeep, and then we proceeded to main phase, and they used the floating mana.
But
So
this is a testimonial of why streams and game matches are very, very important, so that mistakes can be caught, because people make mistakes, right? You know, like especially newer players, they don't always realize things like that. You're floating mana if you float it during, let's say, your upkeep when you go to the next phase, or if you float it during your main phase and you go to combat. That's a common mistake for newer players. So assuming no ill intent, that's important for new players to know those kind of things, that when you choose to do those floating mana, it does dissipate when you change phases.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And while the Judge navigates this, that is something that I am very active on my Twitch account on when I cast casual EDH every Saturday, is that, like, the whole point is to learn, right? We all learn from watching other people play and make mistakes and succeed and fail and talk about lines of play. That's where the growth happens. That's where the education lives. So to be able to, like, watch the game objectively and be able to have that conversation and catch those things so that everybody learns, not only us, but the players and chat watching, to me, that is magic. That's the whole point of why we do this.
Exactly. And always, it's, best intentions, sometimes too, like, I know my personal play group probably wouldn't have caught this, because in our play group, there's like house rules sometimes too. And, if you're newer to cEDH, or you're new to even just a tournament, if your play group is okay with it and you assume then that is a legal action or legal thing to take, you would have no other way of knowing, right? So, like, it's always a good way to learn, like, the tournament rule, the actual rules, versus sometimes rules that happen at home, or even like at your own LGS. Sometimes judges make calls and it's like, that's not actually the ruling. If you look up the proper ruling in the MTG rules.
J-Dog, what was the verdict?
They cracked treasures during their main phase, is what they told me. They did not
gotcha.
float mana in their upkeep.
Oh,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, if everyone's in agreement, that's what happened.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what everybody agreed on.
Okay,
Great.
Good to know.
Thank you, Judge. And I think that's a part of these tournaments, both online and in person, that is often overlooked, is something like that could have completely broken this game wide open. And shout out to our judges. The wonderful J-Dog is our judge today. I think you guys are underappreciated and undervalued in terms of, the hype y'all get. And just wanted to say I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Judges are so important to keeping the integrity of the game, but also just to keep everybody on the same page, right? Like, there's only so much politicking that you can do player to player with conversations at the table. But sometimes you don't know what something does, or sometimes you just are confused. And that is why judges are so important. Invaluable. Better safe than sorry, chat says. Absolutely.
Good mantra, Soul Sleep TV. So
Bagel, let's see. Let's try and catch up here. Bagel Heist played the Orcish Bowmaster. It looks like an Italian player lost their Orcish Bowmaster, and Bagel Heist also lost theirs. Bergi in the graveyard, likely do a discard. I believe the Corvold attack sacked something. And then he discarded the Bergi, or they discarded the Bergi on cleanup step, is what I'm predicting. We missed Shadow Walker's turn here, which looks like Shadow Walker went into a Derevi. Is the
Scary stuff.
is Najila about to just win here?
Yeah, I'm curious what the benefit is, because you kind of get a free Najila attack. You can swing with the Najila. Derevi can untap. Granted, you can't go infinite, but you can keep that mana open just in case, hope that you don't get attacked into. I think Talion is the bad guy right now, or even the Korvald. And I think we're in the politics phase right now of the combat stuff. But I think Korvald right now is kind of pleading to not be attacked. Based on the hand motions and gestures, but I don't think that Korvald player is long for this game.
Yeah, I don't think you have a leg up here in that politicking, because you're the free target for the Najila player who needs to win via combat. So that's just going to happen.
Yeah, I think you go. Yeah, you kill the Korvald, just one less, problem to worry about. I don't know. I think maybe you pressure Winota's life total and then force Winota to have to make a decision on who to kill. But can if there are enough warriors, I can't see on the
I can't see on the spin down. Is it 7? It looks like maybe 7 warriors.
If there's 7 warriors, then Najila just wins. I mean, you make 7, you have 7 Derevi triggers, you untap your lands, you have Underground Sea, the City of Brass really screws you. You can do it. Oh, but your warriors get lifelink. Yeah, I mean, you can target lands multiple times with Najila. So the plateau can be targeted 3 times, and you can tap it for red, 1 trigger, tap it for white, trigger, tap it for red again. You can make your Wooburg mana with the Derevi triggers. So, I mean, I think Najila just wins, right?
That's what I'm thinking too. There is an Iganjo here in response to the attack. Deflecting SWAT in response to the Iganjo channel.
Have it eat one of your warriors.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's super smart. Yeah, this is Najila's player. This is Najila's game to lose right now. I mean, this is too good. You're going to go infinite. I think the players are sort of realizing that. It does not look like... I think Korvald would have used a Red Elemental Blast or Pyroblast on the Derevi while it was on the stack to avoid it getting got. I think Talion has just burnt through their deck in a way that doesn't impact this current board state. I think Najila is just running away with this. Shout out too with the Festival of Nights playmat that the Najila player is rocking. That is from an Eminence event. I work for Eminence.
Oh, is that what that is?
Eminence. Yeah, that's art by Tim Gadecki, who is a German-based artist or Germany-based artist, very talented artist. Doppel Tim on Twitter. But
nice.
Yeah, super stoked to see that playmat out here in the wild.
So it looks like we have the Red Elemental Blast coming in now.
Wow.
On top of what is that? Is that the White Fog?
What is that, Relentless Maneuver?
Yeah, I've seen this card before. Hold on.
It's Orm's Chant.
Orm's Chant.
Orm's Chant.
Yeah.
Okay. Is Orm's Chant targeting the Najila? Oh, maybe it's to kind of bleed that Rhystic Study to make sure that there's nothing that can be drawn. Okay, yeah, they're deciding if they want to pay or not. I'm curious, because the Orm's Chant doesn't really affect the Najila player.
They
don't need to cast spells to win. The Red Elemental Blast does stop the win. Looks like we are forcing pitching Mystical Tutor. Force of Will on Red Elemental Blast, pitching Mystical Tutor in response to the Orm's Chant. The Orm's Chant, notably, is not a silence. It's a single target silence. It says target player or target opponent cannot cast spells, and with a 1-mana kicker that That's what it was. I
Yeah,
think it was
we
a
also.
kicked orange chant.
I think it was a kicked orange chant. We also just had it looks like a misdirection pitching the mental misstep. I'm wondering if that misdirection moves the force of will counter to a different target.
I don't think it does. I think you want that orange chant to resolve because it stops Nagila's ability to go through the combat step. I'm not sure why they didn't do that in response to the Derevi to just fog them for a turn. But
I agree.
the misdirection, maybe Red Elemental Blast on the Force of Will instead of the Derevi. You're kind of helping your opponents reset their targets.
Mm. Yeah.
This
Very
is
interesting stack interaction.
yeah.
I feel like we had.
Chalk this up. I was going to chalk this up to round one jitters. Everyone's still waking up. People are still getting the kind of the mindset to play. People are competing to win. You know, I think Jace of the combat step here has done an excellent job curating this event, and you know, true competitive pricing and prize support. I mean, people are winning cash for playing Magic, which is always a cool thing to do. That takes a mindset though to be successful to do. So I don't know if people are still waking up or what. I mean, I'm on the east or the west coast here, and it's 9:45 in the morning. If other people are west coast based as well, I'm sure they're tired. But
Yeah, you got up a lot earlier than I did to do this, so props to you. And
my
also
alarm was
props
7
to
a.m.
that's oh my gosh. Also, yes, props to Jace for running this tournament. It's going absolutely wonderfully so far. I'm having a blast. I hope you are all having a blast too in chat watching these games. It looks like we have resolved that entire trigger, all of that combat. The Derevi in the graveyard. Nagila player passes, and we are now top of the turn for Winota. Drawing a card.
And now
Yeah,
Winota just kills.
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah, I think now do you drop Winota and then just run away with the game here? Which is, listen, one of the hardest things I've been learning about this format is that it's patience and when to play is probably, there's two important things about this format I've learned. Opening hand and when to play and how to be patient on that. Like watching a lot of the Playing with Powers and casting that tournament was super enlightening of like, you don't always have to do the thing as soon as you have the opportunity to do the thing. Like learning when to do it is at least 50% of this format to me right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of schools of thought. Some decks, they win by finding their window and capitalizing on it. Other decks win by creating that window no matter what. Like Rogsai is a great example of a deck. That deck creates its window. There's no opportune time to go. You just have to go. There's also the mindset, too, of you always want to be the deck asking questions, not answering it. Every spell that you cast, every game action you take is asking a question to the table. Is this going to resolve? Is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? And eventually, the table is going to run out of answers, and if you're asking questions without getting answers, you're winning that game.
That is, I want to like take that and like isolate it, pull it out, and do an entire podcast episode about that topic. I'm writing that down. I love that.
Let me know when.
Absolutely. Yeah, your people call my people. We'll get it booked. Looks like there's a mirror here that went down on the Winota board. Move to combat. Swing with all the goblins. Swing with the.
That is a signal pass.
Interesting. No Winota though.
No Winota.
Is that a breath of fury?
I don't even know what that card is. Okay, so we have attackers declared. They have to be killing Corvald and who has 20 more.
That is a Breath of Fury, 2 red, enchant creature. When enchanted creature does combat damage to a player, sacrifice it and attach it to a creature you control. If you do, untap all creatures you control, and after this phase, there's a no combat phase. So with the Rabble Master, you just keep moving it to the new token.
Yeah, if it creates a new combat phase, Rabble Master triggers at the beginning of combat. That's so good. Yeah, you're just going to continually just swing. Granted, nothing, and that Rabble Master is just going to get bigger as well, because Rabble Master Gets +1/+0 for each other attacking goblin. So if you're repetitiously going through combat steps, you're going to pump that to be a bigger threat. All right. So we are, I think, in the final turn with that Breath of Fire, as Steven said, which, Steven, your audio may have gone out, my friend. It's just, yeah, exactly, Samurai. It's going to loop through combat. You're going to swing, that creature's going to deal combat damage. You will sack it. Too bad there's no Mayhem Devils out anymore. Is the Battle Cry Boy triggering 2? I thought for the Signal Pest has to attack to have those triggers go off. I'm not sure yet. So yeah, we're just going to be looping through combat. If these Mayhem Devils were out, those sack triggers would actually have a huge impact on the creature count for the Winota player. I think the table right now is sort of discussing how/if they can get themselves out of this, but yeah, that's a very unique, cute way to win. If this is the last turn, then it's a draw. I don't think this is the last turn. What is up, Captain Moral Support? My guy, my friend, always hyping things up in the cEDH community. Happy to see you.
Now the fun can start. There is the Yahenni's expertise. We were just talking about this earlier.
Damn, I'm good at this game.
You're so good. You're an expert. You're a professional.
I don't know about that. I just am too ingrained in this. Too much brain power is committed to this dumb game.
No, seriously, that is the thing that I tell people every time. It's like if they're entering a tournament situation for the first time, or if they're going to a convention to play Magic for the first time, I always tell people, bring snacks, bring water. The amount of fuel that your brain takes to process this game is huge, and you need to stay hydrated. You need to stay fueled. Otherwise, your brain's going to turn to absolute mush.
Yeah, see, at events, I'm usually more of just a caffeine and spite kind of guy.
Oh, no, I am a trail mix. I am a organic fruit roll-up. I, literally go to Costco and buy them in bulk and, give them to people. You hungry? Do you need something?
That's so mean. You don't have to call yourself an organic fruit roll-up.
I'm changing my Twitter handle right now.
You heard it here
All right,
folks.
So we have combat stat breaking news.
I've got this organic fruit roll.
No HTMOs, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yahenni's expertise casting a mnemonic betrayal. In response, we have the Najila player casting an intuition. I don't know what's happening. Intuition's countered by force of will. So now we have an intuition in the mnemonic betrayal pile. Yeah,
that seems very interesting. I'm a little, yeah.
Notably, so Talion has a combo with Bloodchief Ascension, which I saw the Bloodchief Ascension in the graveyard, but with Bloodchief Ascension and Mnemonic Betrayal, if there's enough counters on the Bloodchief Ascension, at the end of the Mnemonic Betrayal, you just cast Mnemonic Betrayal and then pass turn, or then pass. All of those cards will go from exile back into graveyard, and that'll trigger Bloodchief Ascension, so you can kill your opponents all in one swoop with that.
Wow.
We do have a Dockside in graveyard, and yeah, it looks like we're just leading on that Dockside without seeing what else is in the yard. Depending on what cards are in hand, I'm wondering if you cast the Horn of Harnfell off the Burgie. I'm also a little worried about... Oh, we have two Docksides. Okay, so you can Dockside. Dockside count is 1, 2, 3?
Yeah, it looks like it's
4.
3. Oh, 4. Uh-huh.
So you Dockside, you have 6 mana, and the mana can be spent as if it's any color with the Mnemonic Betrayal. I am feeling pretty good. We also have a Jeweled Lotus, it looks like. Yeah, I don't know if you just cast that to cast that. It's a little
Hmm.
tough as Talion. You have access to this intuition, but the deck's not built around having intuition piles. So intuition's like kind of weirdly like not great, but I'm sure you can make something work.
Yeah, this is where I lean to you as the resident Italian player, brewer, builder here. Is like what is the line? Um,
Uh,
there's so many options.
you definitely do the docksides. You dockside ritual and a dockside. We have no access to a wheel. Bowmasters is decent. I mean, you can Bowmasters to kill an opponent. I'm terrified of that Rhystic study though that Najila has, but
Hmm.
they've been more or less stopped. Um, you could intuition for a time twister because all of these graveyards are in exile, so it won't affect that, and then you would get a bunch of Bowmaster triggers.
That's not
But
bad.
I'm trying to think of what you could grab. A Praetor's Grasp, maybe. But I think if you intuition and one of the cards is a time twister, that's guaranteed going into the yard. And it's kind of hard to recur stuff in Dimir. Judge, the mnemonic betrayal was put into the graveyard, by the way, not exile.
Oh, Ghost X. Okay, I just don't know. What pod is this?
Pod 3.
Yeah, we're still in
Okay,
pod.
okay, sounds good.
It
There is
looks
a
like
line of fix. Oh, there we go. They're fixing it, maybe? Nope.
I think they're just conceding the game.
Oh,
yeah.
easy.
I think Talion moves to combat here, swings out, kills Bagel Heist, and then the rest of the table just concedes after that.
Wow.
Interesting, interesting.
I don't know if I would do that if I was Winota. Maybe I think Winota still has a shot.
Yeah,
I'm curious why the Winota wasn't cast, but maybe it's just not worth the mental impact to continue to play. But there is a line of text at the end of mnemonic betrayal. Jeez, the hardest word in the world. That does say exile demonic betrayal. It does exile upon resolution. If it's countered, though, it does not get exiled.
Yeah.
chat's asking, is the Thoracle gone? Great question.
Unclear at this time.
Unclear.
Yeah, unclear at this point in time.
Okay, so I think Winota did not concede.
I will go mention to Pod 3 then that they need to remove the mnemonic betrayal from their graveyard.
Yippee! Okay. We're doing the initiative stuff.
Yes, we are doing the initiative stuff. So we are top of the turn for Akia and on the Noda here. Let's see, Rabblemaster gone.
Is that? I thought the Master was still there. No.
They just put it into the graveyard.
Interesting. Oh, maybe they
Mana
missed it
crypt.
on the first go round.
I think so. Yeah. Mana Crypt 2 lands into the Winota. But now
Thank you, Jay.
No problem.
Okay, now we have the Winota.
Non-human.
Oh, the Rabblemaster, I think, was supposed to have been killed during the Yeheni's expertise.
I see. Got it. Now we're catching up. Is the Lord of the Rings creature, is that a Sam? Is that a Boromir? What is this?
I know the the frame makes everything look all the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That looks to be a non-human creature. So I don't know if we're going to get a Winota trigger off of this turn.
So this game is going to be ending in a draw, it seems. This is the final turn.
Yeah.
Why did Michael untap? Hold on.
All right, Chad, we're going to wrap this up here.
All right, so the interesting part about tournament EDH is, although the players in seats 2 and 3 were eliminated from the game because there was no winner, the entire pod results in a draw. So despite having been killed because there was no winner, the whole pod is considered a draw, and those players did not lose the game.
Fascinating. I didn't realize that's how that worked.
Yep. So it's a crazy component. If you'll see that in a lot of decision-making processes. If I don't have a chance to win the game, but I can cause the game to end in a draw and not lose, it is in my best interest to min-max my tournament to play for a draw and not lose the game. Because that will get 1 point. So typical point structure for tournament EDH: 0 points for a loss, 1 point for a draw, 5 points for a win. So you're incentivized to win, obviously, to get more points. But if you can, like, someone puts a game-winning spell on the stack and you can pact the negation it and have no way to pay for it, that is, in my opinion, it's not a spite pact. It's your best interest in terms of having your best tournament result.
Yeah, that's fair.
As somebody who's not actually competed in a tournament, that is good to know. I'm learning too.
Yeah, and 1 point can make a huge difference. Like, when I played in the cookout in Atlanta, Georgia, it was 1 point that secured my space in top 16. It was one draw, and if I lost the game, it was how you got bubbled in. So it is in your best interest to play your outs.
It makes a huge difference because everyone is there at the end of the day. Everyone is there to win, right? Like, so if you're not there to win, and then you have an opportunity to advance your own day, your own standings, it's not bad to do that. And sometimes people look at it because then you did that, but it's not bad. That's nothing wrong.
I will say the cookout playmat is still by far, hands down, my favorite playmat of 2023. As soon as I saw it, I was like, I wish I was there at this tournament just for the playmat. As somebody who grew up in the South, I'm obsessed with it. So good.
I'm glad you liked it. It was fun helping with it, and I like that playmat quite a bit. And shout out to Command Tower. Jace, I know you're using Command Tower for this event, and we at Eminence want to thank you, and we appreciate you using Command Tower. We hope it's been a good process for you on the tournament organizer side, and we also hope that it has been good for your players as well.